Hello everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel GKR Soft. In this video, we are going to discuss about what is ECU State Manager. And in this video, we will particularly discuss about ECM for Classic AUTOSAR. As you are well aware, we are discussing about a lot of embedded related concepts in our YouTube channel. So if you want to know more details about embedded system, then you can join in our group in LinkedIn. You will get a everyday notification related to latest embedded concepts that would be really helpful for you. I have mentioned the link in the description. You can join yourself. So before start to dive into ECUM, first we have to understand about AUTOSAR architecture. And this is a classic AUTOSAR architecture. You can watch our complete AUTOSAR playlist to understand more detail and clarity about classic AUTOSAR. But in this video, first I will go through the basics about AUTOSAR architecture. As you are already aware, AUTOSAR is nothing about it is an automotive open system architecture. It is a layered architecture. We have a three layers. One is application layer, RTE, and base software. And ECM is part of base software and it's part of system services. So first we can start with what is ECUM. ECUM it stands for ECU State Manager. It will completely control the life cycle of an ECU. So what is the life cycle of an ECU? This will decide. That means ECM decides when the ECU start, when it has to run, when it has to sleep, when it has to wake up, and when it has to shut down. It is the highest authority for ECU lifecycle management in classic AUTOSAR. And we can say that ECM is the owner of the lifecycle also. So here I have mentioned that where ECM will play a major role. See there, ECM will start OS and it will initialize MCU driver as well, and also will initialize BSWM and RT, and if needed, it will initialize application software component also. So here you can see the position of ECM and why ECUM is required. So what will happen if there is no ECUM? In vehicle, ECU should not start randomly and ECU should not go to sleep abruptly and wake ups should be validated and shutdown should be controlled. So this is where ECUM is actually required. So ECUM ensures safe startup, controlled shutdown, power management and battery protection. So without ECM, ECU behavior would be unpredictable. So that is why we need ECM in classic AUTOSAR and also in automotive side. So here you can see that how we will do the ECM configuration. So as I mentioned that ECM takes the full complete control life cycle of an ECU. So this is the first module will hit in the AUTOSAR architecture. So if you want to configure in ECM, so here you can see that, and this picture is coming from EB Tresas. So ECM, here we need to configure what all are the modules you want to initialize it in the init list one, and you can configure some of the modules in init list 0 also. This is a very simple picture. So in the upcoming videos, we will discuss more detail about each and every section. But in your project, if you want to understand about how the ECM configuration is done, then you are working already with ETAS or Vector or EB Trasa stack, then you can go to the ECM module and you can see it however the way the module initialization is configured and which module needs to be initialized first, and all this information you can see it in ECM init list 1 or init list 0. So what is the responsibility of ECM? So ECM, as I mentioned, it will initialize MCU, that means your MCall driver, operating system, schedule M, BSWM, and selected BSW drivers. That means nothing about your ADC, DIO, or if you have any other drivers you want to initialize in the startup, that will be completely done by ECM module. And this will be taken care by ECU state and phase handling also, and ECM particularly managing some of the ECU phases. That means startup, up, shutdown, post run, sleep, reset, or off state. These all will be managed by ECM. So these states define where the ECU in its life cycle. So the very important point here is ECM owns the boundaries of the ECU lifecycle, but not the internal application logic. So what are the additional responsibility we have in ECUM in classic AUTOSAR? So this has to manage wake up handling also. So this will detect wake up events like can, lin, and it will validate wake up sources, and this will block spurious or false wake up. So this particularly avoids unnecessary ECU wake up. Along with this will take a control of shutdown and sleep. So especially ECM will coordinate between shutdown and sleep. So this will execute controlled shutdown, and it will select sleep or reset target. And this will ensure data is saved before sleep. Along with this, ECM will store reset reason and wake up reason and shutdown cause. So this particular information is useful for diagnostics and debugging. I hope you got an idea about the roles and responsibility of ECM. But always keep in your mind that the responsibility of ECM is the complete life cycle, the startup and shutdown. And what are the modules are dependent with ECM? So the very important thing is the MCU driver, because ECM depends on MCU driver to initialize clock, configure hardware, and enable low level execution. And MCU is the first driver initialized by ECUM. And another one is dependency with the operating system. So here ECM will start the AUTOSAR operating system, and it will stop the AUTOSAR operating system during the shutdown, and it will coordinate life cycle with OS state, because operating system execution fully controlled by ECM. And it has a dependency with drivers as well, like can, lin, ICU, GPT. So these drivers detect wake up events, and it will notify ECM about wake ups, and it will support sleep and wake up mode. And ECM itself does not detect hardware wake ups. And along with this, ECM is have a dependency with base software mode manager and schedulum. So this is the most important dependency, because ECM controls early startup and shutdown. So during run phase, BSWM controls the ECU behavior. So that's what we have seen in the above ECM configuration as well. And BSWM executes rule based on modes. And ECM hands over control to BSWM after startup. So you can think in a way of ECM is the life cycle owner, and BSWM is the decision maker. And along with this, maybe you can think in a way, I have a software component and I want to bring in a way that initialization, running, or shutdown kind of a phases. Is that really possible with the help of ECM? Yes. So ECM have a dependency with application software component also. But that's also can be achieved via BSWM. And we can request run or post run, or you can influence shutdown decision also. But final authority still remains with ECM. So if you think about the ECM in the real vehicle example, just think about it whenever the ignition is on. So wake up is detected now, and ECM will initialize MCU, OS and base software, and ECU enters run. Now think your ignition is on, wake up is done, now vehicle is running. Then BSWM controls the behavior, and communication and network are active. Then after some time, ignition is off cases coming, then ECM enters post run, and it will save the data, and it will transition ECU to sleep also, right? Perfect. So now what are the key takeaway from this video? ECM is the AUTOSAR basic software module and responsible for managing the ECU lifecycle, including startup, shutdown, sleep, wake up handling, and coordination with OS and BSWM. And ECM is not a mode decision logic, and BSWM is not a ECU lifecycle owner, but they work together, because ECM owns the ECU lifecycle boundaries. Hope you got a clarity about the basics of ECM. And additionally, if you want to understand about embedded system related concepts, then you can join in this LinkedIn group. I have mentioned the link in the description. You can just do the single click, then it will take you to the embedded group in LinkedIn. I hope This video helped you to clearly understand ECUM responsibilities and dependencies. So if you found this is useful, and like the video and share with your colleagues and subscribe to our GKR Soft. Thank you for watching and see you in the next AUTOSAR video.